And we are live.
Great day, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. I'm Craig A. Jackman, along with Matt Hollis, and we are so glad to have you with us today. Our topic is how to know yourself.
Great topic. Hey, guys.
Pause. I like to pause on that one because I want everybody to think about that. How to know yourself. I think it's going to be a great episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us wherever you are. Let's get started. Matt, Robert, welcome.
How you
Howdy,
doing?
howdy.
Blessed and highly favored.
Yeah,
we love.
Yes.
We kind of kicked
Deeply
around
loved.
like what to do as like a subject and stuff today. And yesterday we were just doing like a mastermind as we do. And we came up with we started going through the personality tests and stuff again. And we thought, when's the last time we like went through and talked about that? You know, like talked about how to get to know yourself. And the personality test, like in a lot of ways, can really help with that. Like Craig just retook his and it was actually different than the one that he took before, which is kind of nuts. But I think that happens. I think that happens.
Oh,
You know,
totally.
we change and we shift. And you've talked about that, Dad. You've talked about the fact that like with time you can kind of change different elements of yourself. And it was kind of interesting because even as we were like going through the personalities and we were pulling up each of ours and we're going to share them with you guys on here, tell you where you can figure out how to figure your own out. But when we were going through, it has like the pros and the cons. And it's really interesting to like look through our cons and see the things that we really worked on and like made better, right? Over
Right.
time. So
Oh, yeah.
with that said, Dad, do you have anything you want to share as we get started here?
Yeah, like everything else, Jim Rohn, any book that you read, anything, the more that we know who we are, the more we learn to not only accept ourselves, but love ourselves. And then another thing is to really discover the talents that give us the most joy in life. And when you really realize why why they always have these numbers of 95.5, why 95% of the people on the planet really are struggling and on the struggle bus. And the other 5%, like you always hear, seem to out earn the other 95%. I will tell you right now, when you can focus more on working on you than getting good at things that you're not that doesn't give you joy, think about that. I became an auto mechanic for one reason and one reason only. My uncle said, "Wow, you're pretty good with your hands. You should be a mechanic." I only seen my uncle like once every couple of years. Uh, but he was always looked at in the family as being the most successful uncle. He worked for a large, yeah, probably $1 trillion company now if it still exists. But we always hear about it when we come around war. He worked for a company called Halliburton, and he used to tell this funny story because he didn't graduate high school. And so he said, I was one of the people in the whole company that never had a high school degree or a college degree that went all the way to VP in that company. And he said, I did it because of one thing. And he goes, I go, what? And he says, whenever the people came to the company that were the decision makers, I just always made sure that I was on the opposite side of the complex. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because he said when people met people, the first thing they would say is, well, Craig, Matt, what college did you graduate from? Trying to build some kind of rapport. And he just went all the way to the top of that company. you know, and I find that hilarious. So I go and be a mechanic thinking that that's the way to, get freedom, make income, really build a life and an empire for me and my family. And I was very, very wrong because there was these thoughts in my mind. I'm only me. I can't put in enough hours. It's, my income is like, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So I started losing passion for what I was doing because I felt like everybody in the world lied to me. That, the people that own everything, including the dealerships that I work for, they just wanted me to be an employee and, not only get sort of like depressed, but really getting like, I don't know what it is, learned hopelessness, victim, excuse-itis, broke-itis, is like, it was just all these awful things. And I do understand, listen closely, I do understand. Well, if no one's going to give me raises or promotions, then I need to do like the rest of the mechanics that have been here longer than me. I need to do as little as possible to continue to keep my job. I'm not going to work my butt off for peanuts. And so I had lost sort of a passion to, hey, I guess you get married, have a couple of kids, get a picket fence, get a couple of dogs. Almost have that all. I have a chain link fence, but it's like,
Close
but
enough, right?
that was the deal, right? And so what happened to me, and you guys know my story, is and you can, of course, go to roberthollis.com/free and get a copy of my best-selling book on my Rags to Riches story. Because now what happened is I got hurt on the job, and now I'm on workman's comp, and I lost my identity. I lost everything. I went from taking home almost $4,000 a month to bringing home $900. And so the first 3 months were pretty fun, even though I didn't like to have a cast on my leg. But, month 4, month 5, when the banks didn't understand that I don't have any income, then they just started repossessing all the stuff that I had leveraged out on debt. You know what I mean? When I'm making money, I had my Snap-on bill, a car bill, a motorcycle bill. It was like I had all these credit cards and now I can't pay the payments on them. And so with Jim Rohn, one of the mentors I met, said, when you start working on you more than anything else, and you really start working on what gives you joy and what's your talents. When I met this guy, Bill, my mentor, I write about him in my book. One of the first big trainings we went to, where it was, he broke us into groups and he asked us to take a test. And it was interesting. The test was a personality test. I didn't know at the time, but he broke it up to sort of not make you lie to yourself. So it was, one test was based on how you want people in the world to see you. And Craig will be able to Matt talks about persona. Craig's a professional actor. And isn't that funny? The way you portray yourself to the world is probably not who you are. Just,
Oh,
just,
yes.
just a thought. You know what I mean? So, of course, I know none of this stuff. Very ignorant, and ignorant means I just didn't know that I didn't know. It's not a bad word. I was telling a friend yesterday that I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was. First time I heard entrepreneur, I was going like, oh, let's break it down. That's a person that owns a company. Why don't you just call him the owner? Why do you got to come up with these long, and like I've seen some business cards where, oh my God, they've got so many, it's got like the alphabet, it's got all these deals and alphabet, and they're
CFO,
the grand,
CTV.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're the grand poobah of international expansion. And I'm like going, what is going on? So didn't know any of that stuff. And in this training, this test that we took is the second part of the test is who you would like to be. Okay, so now you're answering questions all based on, this is my imaginary self. If I could be anybody, this is the imaginary self. And I'll give you an example. I'm the way I was created in the environment that I grew up in, I was very, very introverted. And I had this ego edging God out that who could possibly not figure out how to do a tune up or a 30,000 mile service on their car? To think that I had no clue that I had talents and gifts. So the way I looked at everybody is they would pull their car and it'd be on a wrecker. And I'd go to start the car and it wouldn't even turn over. And then I pull the dipstick out and there's no oil in it. The engine is toast. It's ruined. And I'm like, who doesn't know how to get an oil change? There was this, we used to call it, don't get mad at me, but on the dash, it's called an idiot light. You know what I mean? I don't know what other people call it, but when it says check engine, that's what it means.
I saw a picture today on the internet where this guy said, so someone brought their car in today, and just so you guys know, this is what an engine looks like when you put windshield wiper fluid in it instead of the right spot. This person had taken the oil cap off and poured windshield wiper fluid in the oil reserve. And it just ruined the whole motor, of course. Like it just
I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. And
it's like they can't print it enough on there,
I've actually seen cars that, when I told them where the light was, they then explained me, well, that's why I put tape on it.
That's funny.
Or
they didn't want to see it. They didn't want to acknowledge it, right?
Black fingernail polish over.
They learned what to do. They're like, that thing's annoying me. It's like the people
now
that
this means you're going to get you're going to have to buy a new car or spend, thousands and thousands of dollars to have it replaced. Yeah. So what ignorant for me to think that everyone would have common sense and understand how to work on their car. See what I mean? Here's what's so funny about your ego is I thought what other people did was things that I believed that I could always learn. See, that's another ignorant. It's obvious that if I'm dyslexic, I'm probably not going to be a person that teaches people how to write and do grammar and do proper spelling and punctuation and enunciation. These are words I had to learn to say because I'm dyslexic. And so I meet this guy. Of course, you guys heard the story. He showed me his check for $62,000. And he very simply says, Robert, you need to learn to be a people person. And I'm like, no. I got 3 friends and they're also auto mechanics. And he goes, listen, this is a people business. You can learn these skills. And so when I went to the training, we took this test, and the last way you take it is how you are now. So think about it. You take a test based on what you want everyone to see. Second test based on your imagination of who you want to be. And then a test on who you are. And then what it did is it broke it into 4 different colors. So these 16 personalities all have a quarter section that they then break in to another deeper, more detailed.
Right.
And the one thing I want to share before we get started is this was a significant emotional event for me. And if you don't know what a significant emotional event would be like the first time that I had that really passionate kiss. When that happened to me, I went from no longer being scared of cooties and how gross I thought that was, people, touching each other, to wanting that to happen all the time. And so that's a shift, a paradigm shift. And so first thing that I did, it makes me emotional when I tell people this, because in this group setting, there's probably about 700 people. And when I took the test and the reds had to go here, the greens go over here, the blue over here, the yellow over here. The first thing that I realized is that I wasn't the only freaking person on the planet that thought and acted like me. I now was around a group of people that looked like me, talked like me, heard like me, had skepticism like me. Is like, hey, these green analytical people, these bookworms. And a lot of people don't know that about me. They'll take this test and they'll go, "Oh my God, he's always smiling, he's always laughing. You know, he's this amberable personality, blue personality." And I said one statement one time when I got an award on stage in front of a group of people because I taught these, right? And I said, "How many people in the audience think I'm red?" And about 15% of the group raised their hand. I said, "How many of you think I'm blue?" And 76% of the people raised their hand. And I said, "How many of you guys think I'm yellow?" And about 10% of the people raised their hand. And I said, "How many of you guys think I'm green, analytical?" And about 7% of the people raised their hand. And then I leaned forward and I said, "That was everyone in the group. I did my job very well." Because everyone thought that I was their personality trait.
Right.
Because if you're around people that are from Japan and they don't know English, what is the advantages of knowing Japanese?
Huge.
You're talking their language now. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was gonna say it shows like a level of like respect too. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people don't realize like personality is there's some nature and nurture to it in a lot of ways
Sure.
too. And because of the fact that the nurture aspect of it is part of it, that means that you kind of can change it a decent amount based off of, like you're saying, Dad, based off of the atmosphere that you're in or the people that you surround yourself with, right? Like
Yeah, and the other part is let's say that people that you really really love, that you love being around and putting a big smile on their face. What if they like doing things and you just say, "I don't like doing them"? Well, that might hear where, all of a sudden one day we woke up and we both have grown apart. We fell out of love with each other. Why? Because I'm going to focus on what I'm doing and I'm not going to learn her personality and I'm not going to figure out her love language and I'm not going to do the things that would make her happy. See, I can learn to enjoy almost anything if I'm doing it for the right reasons, right? And so the funny thing that you guys, I know you two been around me forever, but they would say something, and I know I can get direct to the point here, is that after taking this test, the other thing that made me emotional is for the first time I knew how to communicate with the people that weren't my personality.
That's a
And it
huge
was
one. Like you have your family or your friends take it, and you really start to realize like some of the disconnects that you have, your spouse, certain things like that. Because as you take a look at it and you dive more into it, you really start to realize like not just the positives, which could make you feel really good, right? But then also like I was talking about a little bit in the beginning, like the negatives, right? Like the
right.
things that you may deal with on a day-to-day basis that like could use some work, right? You could work on those things and make them a little
Well,
better. And of course, like benefiting the people in your life that they're pros, knowing how they can best help and support you is really, really great. So,
so
Well, you
Matt,
have all of the horoscope
I
stuff
know we're
too.
doing I know
yeah, the
we're doing a
horoscopes.
podcast. So Craig, I want you to say a little bit and Matt, when you understood this stuff, I'd like you to share with people what you did.
Oh,
You
yeah.
figured, yeah. So Craig, go ahead.
No, I was going to just basically say it's like, okay, we can go to the horoscopes, we can go to the Chinese calendar, when what year you were born and whether you're an earth or a fire in the Chinese calendar, or even this 16
I'm a tiger.
personalities test. You're a
I'm a
tiger?
tiger in the Chinese calendar.
Okay, I'm a pig.
My
Okay,
goat.
Matt.
Uh,
Goat.
Matt?
A goat?
Yeah. A goat. The
Well, now,
goat.
okay. Well, you're a Capricorn then, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, we're talking Chinese calendar is different. There's no goat in the
Ram.
uh
It's probably rat or something. I
Hey,
should look it up.
I don't know. Yeah, we should probably take a look at because
I'm
there's
looking it up right
those.
now.
Okay, because it's based on your year of birth for the Chinese calendar.
Right.
And then there's also it's interesting. I found out there's like earth, fire, water, and something else that you're also a part of. So you could say, and I've got to look this one up for me. It's like you're a pig with you're a fire pig, or you're a water
Oh,
pig.
okay.
So there's yeah, it's part the elementals.
So not only am I a monkey, but I'm a water monkey, I guess.
You're a
So,
water. Oh, okay.
I don't know what that means about me,
goat,
but take that.
goat
and
didn't
figure
click
out.
for me, but I can definitely look at Matt as a monkey. No doubt.
No doubt.
It's like,
Well, see, I play
Yeah.
with the goat all the time because I'm Capricorn. So it's like
I always
hey,
wondered why I was such a strong swimmer, and now it all makes sense, right? It's the water
and I'm
monkey in me.
and I'm a Pisces.
you're
Right.
a fish. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But that's not the Chinese calendar.
no. So Matt, why don't you explain? Because I know that there's people out there that look at these things. And another thing that I want you guys to all do, if you heard me say this story, I'm going to say it again, because here's the negative of doing what we're going to tell you about, right? Is this professor was in front of the room and he drew on the whiteboard, 0 times 9 equals 0. 9 times 1 equals 9. And he just kept going down until he got to 9 times 9 and he put 80. And he heard behind him, all of his students started laughing. And then he
Right.
went 9 times 10 is 90. And he turned around and a bunch of the kids had their arms in the air and they were all giggling. And he's like, what's going on? And he goes, 9 times 9 is 81. It's not 80. You messed up. And he said, and everybody in the class was like, and what? He goes, why didn't any one of you acknowledge me for the 9 that I got right? So when you take this personality test, don't be that person. Don't immediately go, oh, here's all my weaknesses, and that's why I suck, and that's why I can't do anything. No. Look at all the things that you're gifted and talented with and focus on those. And if I can just say one other thing, and my mentor did this to us before we took the test, is he said, when you understand who you are and you understand what other people are, do you realize, like last night, Mom and I watched, the Netflix on Tom Brady being roasted.
Oh, funny.
Oh boy.
Do not listen for delicate ears. It's like, man, it is definitely a roast, right? But the point being is that there's Tom Brady, by numbers, the best quarterback that's ever quarterbacked. And the people that are there were supporting him was the other players that he played with. And then Belichick showed up, which is the coach, and Kraft was there, the owner. It was very obvious that Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, you could look at him and tell he's never played a sport in his life. So when people look at this personality trait and they go, well, I'm not that outgoing, person, a people person. Yeah, but you could learn to communicate with people that are. And you could find out their hot buttons. So when you show them, they get it. And I teach people how to build large organizations and large followings, influencer and do that. And it's funny that if you have a personality trait that you think that wouldn't be good at building an audience and being an influencer, being a YouTuber, building a large organization of people, then you can learn how to connect with people that love doing that. So
It's true.
Kraft was smart enough to hire a coach that hired a recruit, that hired a sporting scout, and that scout and agent went out and found these other personality traits and bring them in and create a team. So I wanted to say those two things first, because if you can learn about yourself and enjoy being yourself, then you can do what you need to do and everything in life. Plus, um, Matt and I have gotten our brains scanned by the guy that's done more brain scans than anybody. That's Dr. Amen. And here's something that people still don't believe is they don't believe that they can change their personality. So you get people out there. I used to have an analytical guy. I used to have an analytical guy, and you guys both know who he is. I'll give him a shout out, Bob Klein. And when I first met Bob Klein, graduates as an accountant from Georgia Tech University. He is on a green analytical thing to no end. So he really struggled because he told me his label. He said, I'm a concrete sequential thinker. And I go, why'd you tell me that? And he goes, I need to understand things before I can do them. And I said, you will suck at this business. Because he now believes everyone that he was talking to needed to know that information because he felt he needed to know it. So now he would just throw up on them with all this data and all these facts. And when you take this test, you'll see that 3 personality traits could care less. They could just care less. So I know we have a bunch to share, and I'm excited to share. But Matt, I wanted you to, talk about that and then how you use this. I love the way you use this.
No, yeah. I remember going through this, like finding this test in particular. What was it, like 2012, maybe even 2013, somewhere around that. It was close to when like I first started like talking to Hannah, so it had to be like 2014 probably. But
okay.
Yeah, so when I initially got the test, I took it myself. I took it a couple times because as you'll see, I'm an analytical. So because of that, I'm like, I got to make sure that this is the same, whether I take it now or I take it a week later or whatever, right? And I've taken it over the years and consistently gotten the same. But the moment that I like started really enjoying the test, I immediately and got benefit out of it. I immediately was like, okay, I need to share this with like every single person in my sphere. Right. So, my dad took the test. All my friends took the test. My cousins that I was close with. Of course, my wife, my brothers, my mom. I think I even had my grandma take the test. I don't remember. But I put a whole list together of all of them. And then now I kind of have all their personality types. So then it's like, oh, if I'm messing up the relationship in some way, I can kind of know where I'm dropping the ball, right? It makes it a lot easier to kind of like understand people because
right.
you're honestly taking the time to like get to know what makes them tick, but at the same time, don't like take it at face value. Before we get into this, don't take everything you see at face value. Don't automatically assume, okay, this is me. It will freak you out to a certain extent if you haven't done one of these, because if you're honest with yourself, and I'll say this before, because I've said this to the other people who have taken the test, just be honest. Be honest with yourself, your first thought, your first response, because the more you try to think of like what other people would want or what you might want instead of just going with your gut reaction, the more the test is going to be like off. It's just going to be wrong because you're just going to, I don't know, you're going to be fudging the numbers of it because you're trying your best to appeal to a certain personality type. right? Like
Yeah,
maybe you always thought of yourself as
you
something else.
again, if you wanted to, oh, I want my spouse or my friends to think I'm this kind of person because you think about their opinions of what they think that you would think they would like.
It's true. Yeah. And you,
Yeah.
you can have that situation, especially when they start to get like real people that have the same personality types or celebrities and stuff like involved in the
Right.
bottom part, which I'll show you guys here in a second, because when you start to get those involved, then it's like, oh, I'm like Steve Jobs, or I'm like this or that. Like, obviously I'm not Steve Jobs, right? I hope I'm not Steve Jobs, for some reasons as well. But I think with that said, we can kind of get into it, but I do want to let Craig talk a little bit as well about the
Sure.
personality stuff, because we actually had Craig retake the test and Craig
Oh,
retook
yeah.
it. You want to talk about that, Craig?
Sure. You know, and this is something to think about because over the years, we all change. I mean, Matt, you're talking about
What a
you've been the
concept.
same, but you know, a lot of people do change over the years, given their experiences, given their what they've gone through over the years, and things like that. And how interesting that this is almost 6 years of a
Mm.
difference since I took the first one, which Robert, you influenced me to take it before. Uh, the first, this was back May 28th of 2018.
Wow.
And I came out with the entertainer.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you love doing?
Well, yeah,
Acting.
acting and being in front of people and kind of showing off a little bit. Yes, guilty as charged, but it was kind of interesting. And, you know, the individual traits too. There's the traits go like extroverted and introverted are on one level, intuitive and observant are on another level, thinking and feeling are on another level. These are the 5 different levels according to 16 personalities. Judging and prospecting on another level, and then assertive and turbulent on the final level. So back then, I was 81% extroverted, 51% observant, 54% feeling, 51% prospecting, and 58% turbulent. Okay, with the role of the explorer and strategy, social engagement. Now, this is the generic quick breakdown based on completing the each of the questions and things that you go through. So I took it today. Total change. I am now the debater.
Wow.
I went from an ESFP T to an ENTP A. So the E is still there and the P is still there. It's just the others have changed.
Right.
Neat.
So here's
That's
where, go ahead, Matt.
well, I was gonna say, go ahead and link it to me. I might as well start pulling them up, because we'll go through each of our personalities on here, because I think people will find it interesting.
Yeah.
So, which one
Oh,
was
you
it,
mean send
Craig?
you the link in the chat, in the other chat?
No, you can just tell me the personality. What was it again?
Okay, the
ESFP,
debater.
the
Yeah,
debater, ENTP,
ENTP. There
right
he is.
here.
Yeah, that one. So based on the traits, I am still extroverted now at 75%.
Mm-hmm.
I have switched from being observant to being intuitive at 68%. I have switched from being feeling to thinking at 53%. I have switched from judging, or no, I'm still at prospecting, but I'm now up at 54%. And I've switched from being turbulent at 58% to being assertive at 61%.
Assertive instead of judging.
Hey, I mean, I feel like that in a way, like as you get older, right?
Tom Hanks, Thomas
Yeah.
Edison,
You got Mark
Ah,
Twain, Celine Dion, Sacha Baron Cohen, Tyrion.
oh,
Jack
who's that?
Sparrow.
Jack
Yeah.
Sparrow. Yeah.
Now the Joker.
Is
Yeah.
that Einstein? Or
Yeah,
no?
you
Oh,
got Dr.
Manuel Brenner.
Emmett. Emmett Brown
Okay.
from Back to the Future.
Oh, and the Joker. Cool.
Yep. I mean, huge Adam Savage fan myself.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I
Should we go into Craig's strengths and weaknesses?
Yes.
Of course, right? Are you okay
Now,
with that, Craig?
I personally,
Yes.
I personally know what they are, but this is a podcast.
But it's interesting as you're getting ready for that, Matt, to see that over the years, how much it changes.
It's true. Yeah. It's insane.
So you could be one thing today, and in maybe a couple years, then of course this is based on it's the Myers-Briggs
Right.
setup. It's interesting how it does change. Now, of course, that doesn't change your Chinese calendar. That doesn't change your horoscope.
Or
Not
your
my
birthday.
Zodiac?
Doesn't change your
Or your
birthday.
Zodiac. Yeah.
Oh,
You're
man.
stuck with that. Although it's interesting because there are, of course, tendencies that
Do you think this
show up
has
in those.
any? Do you guys think this has anything to do with the messages I get in fortune cookies?
Ooh,
Partially. I
probably.
can see it.
Believe it or not, I made a joke of that, but believe it or not, who you are and the way you interpret everything is based on this.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
So,
that.
If you
Go
gave
ahead,
the
Dan.
fortune cookie and the same one to 100 people and you couldn't see the reactions of the other people, you could get what from the extreme to, oh my God, I needed to hear this.
Exactly.
To let me think of the personalities. To, oh, this is total bullshit. To the other personality that goes, wow, my life is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
To the person that's like, that's cool.
Right. Some
And it
people are
goes
just
back
gonna
to what
look
you've
at
been
it and they'll
talking
go,
about,
"Oh."
Robert, about perspective
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And the other thing that
Yes.
kind of came up too, that in just really quickly before we go into this is, there's that neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know it, forgive me if I don't get it exactly right, but some of us are more word-based. Some of us are more visual, and some of us have the combination of two. So you could say something and not mean anything by it, but the other person who's listening will go, huh? And exactly like what Robert just shared. It may not affect you, but it'll affect somebody else because
Yeah.
of the way you say it, not necessarily
The
how
one-
you say it or the words that you say. It's the way you say it.
Craig, not only that, but if any one of you have ever been in a disagreement or argument and have another person says, I can't believe you frickin' said that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they repeat what they believe you said. And then the fight is on. That is not what I said. I did not say that. It's like, can we get an instant replay?
That
Can we get-
referee call for the progressive commercial. Yes. Hold on a minute. Time out.
people that have difficulties with communication before they learn who they are. I've heard therapists say, just do yourself a favor, record it.
Yeah.
We now are all carrying around a phone that you can record a voice memo. And just, hey, before we get into this, just to record it. It not only will change the way that people respond because they're being recorded, but they also pay more attention to what you're saying instead of looking for a place to interrupt. Because if you had to listen back to a tape and heard that your significant other didn't get a chance to complete a sentence,
Mm-hmm.
that and you wonder why they're mad.
Yeah.
Because they're not being
You're like,
heard.
you're not listening. And it's like, oh.
Oh,
You're not.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're not listening to me. I didn't mean it that way.
Well, that's one of those things that you learn very quick, like in marriage counseling and those types of things, is like you learn very quickly that thinking instead of communicating, one of the worst things you do. Like, just don't be thinking, assuming, or anything like that. Go at it with good communication. You have to figure out how, like Eric said in chat about his wife, you have to figure out how your spouse or the people that are in your life communicate and hear things like what Craig said, because you might say something and be very analytical. This is something I've learned. And if you're talking to someone that's more emotional and you just say things matter of fact, like that's not the right way to go about it. You're not giving them the emotional support that they need, right?
Yeah.
So
why don't
just because you don't need
Capricorns
it
and
doesn't
Leos
mean
mix or something like that?
something like that.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
do certain okay, I'm just obviously I'm just going by the zodiac, but why do certain signs mix and others don't? And the same rules apply with this setting with the Chinese zodiac. It applies with the 16 personalities test.
It does. Me and Hannah are there's this one book about these types of personality tests, and me and Hannah are one of the 3 power personality couples. Yeah. So she's got all the feeling and all the caring and high emotional side of intelligence. She's very intelligent in general, but I'm definitely more the analytical person, more of that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that as we get into the personalities. So with that said, do you want to go through some of your strengths and weaknesses, Craig? And then we'll get into mine, and we'll leave
right now.
So we'll force everybody to stay the whole thing. We'll leave my dad for last, so they'll have to wait and see his.
Cool.
So these are the strengths and weaknesses of the ENTP personality. This is Craig's personality. So these are your strengths, Craig.
Wow, in the picture, the person's standing on stage in front of
There
a
you go.
group.
He's like, this is the way to go. Right.
Yeah. I very much remember doing all of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So knowledgeable people with this personality type, debaters, rarely pass up a good opportunity to learn something new, especially abstract concepts. This information isn't usually absorbed for any planned purpose, as with dedicated studying. They just find it fascinating. That sounds...
Yes.
So I don't know if I'm not going to read out all these because I hope you guys know how to read. So we'll just go
You can
through
bullet.
and bullet point, pause, whatever you feel like doing. But he's a quick thinker, original.
See that in every MC that he does.
Absolutely. I think quick thinking is like one of the things that's high on intelligence. Like being able to problem solve very quickly. If you find yourself someone that can problem solve very quickly, and you don't get stressed out by it, odds are that's a sign of a high intelligence. So
Yep.
Craig's like, absolutely. You agree with this one as well then, Craig? Original? Absolutely.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah.
And excellent brainstorming.
Saw that yesterday when we were in our mastermind.
Yeah. I like figuring.
Energetic. I'll let you talk on them a little bit if you want to share a little bit.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if one of these pop out at you, Craig, and you want to share a little bit about yourself, I'm sure people wouldn't mind if you're like, yeah, I actually can see why I'm charismatic or energetic. But I feel like
definitely I know energetic.
I mean, anybody that ever sees the beginning of any one of our Ask Me Anythings will immediately know that he's energetic.
Right. So now we'll get into the weaknesses.
Uh-oh.
Very argumentative.
I can be, especially if and this is one of the things that I know I am. When people say, what is your positives and what are your negatives? Like when I've done job interviews, I always say stubborn in the good and in the bad.
Yeah.
Right. So insensitive, intolerant.
I've gotten better on the intolerant. I will say that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When you go through these negatives, and like you said, Dad, if you look at them and you immediately go, oh my God, like, am I intolerant? Am I this or that? There might be a situation.
There's all my problems. There's all my problems.
You might have had these
unless
issues
people
in the
are
past.
able to back up, unless people are able to back up their ideas in a round of mental sparring, ENTPs are likely to dismiss. And you know what? I do like proof. Why do you think that way? And
It's
so,
true.
okay, in that regard, I'm a little intolerant. That doesn't necessarily mean that I am completely going to say, cut the cord, forget it, you're out.
But for a personality like mine, that's like more analytical and less emotional, you're straight to the point with that stuff means a lot. Like I would much
Yeah.
rather have it that way. But that's just
Mhm.
because I'm less on the emotional side. Can find it difficult to focus. And
Okay, I'm a bit of a squirrel, but
and
but
then
it depends on what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's true. If it's like exciting for you, I'm sure it's like you've said that you'll read the whole script, not just your lines, but you'll try to memorize other people's lines as well, right?
Yes.
To a certain extent. Not every actor does that, right?
No.
Like
No. Exactly.
that's an
Or
extra
the
step. That's
or
something the
whatever
best of
the
the best
feeling
do
is.
though. Most of the
Yes.
best of the best. So, yeah, dislike of practical matters. Do you a little bit of a rebel, Craig?
I am a little. I'm not
A
a
little
complete
rebellious?
rebel. I'm a little rebellious. It depends on the situation. I will say that.
Very
Right.
cool.
So we're gonna go through like we'll just hit on career path just because I like this one too. But it
Okay.
um if they have anything in here, I don't know if
I think
they
it's those larger
I love that
fonted
it
things.
said the
Gift
gift
of
of
curi
curiosity.
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, I love curiosity. You know, it's like if I go to if I go to like an art gallery,
Mm-hmm.
I will get as close as I can to the object to see how they did it. Or even in the technical side of, let's say, film, stage, even some of the stuff that we do on with AI. It's like, why? And
Mm-hmm.
I want to find out to my satisfaction why. It may not be the ultimate reason, but to my satisfaction.
I mean, as someone who's like obsessive compulsive, I get that.
Oh, I
I'm
bet you've
like, I
got
need,
curiosity all over you.
I'm like, I need to. It's like an impulse.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so that's really cool. I think. Is there anything else you want to share about this, Craig? After you went through it?
You know what? No, I mean, I look at the then and now, and going back to where we started, and I'm just like, extroverted has always been, so that I
Right.
was not surprised at, but to see going from um, observant to intuitive, that was a big change that I noticed
Yeah, that's
because
yeah.
I went more for the heart as opposed to the head.
Yeah.
And I feel that. And then I went, well, which is kind of interesting because then I went from feeling to thinking. So, uh, but okay. And then being, instead of turbulent, to being assertive. And I will say, I feel like I have become more assertive based on the way they say, let's see, where is that? Um, Power of stress activated is turbulent, where assertive is more of calm in the storm. Those with assertive identity say they feel confident facing day to day difficulties compared to the 62% of those with the turbulent identity.
Right.
Yeah, it says even right here, it says turbulent debaters say they are often afraid of being rejected by others, but 29% of assertive debaters say that.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think that just shows a gradual like growth in your own personal self growth of who you are, and just going
exactly.
like, you know what, I know what I am, I know what I like, I know what I want. I'm not gonna fucking try to appease other people as much.
Right.
So
But
I think that's
and I
huge.
will say it's taken me a long time to do that too, to learn to make that
Well,
adjustment.
the biggest thing that I know that this will do for any one of you that will take it seriously is it's sort of neat to know the baseline that you have. And when you get to, again, the title of this, when you really get to know who you are and you're comfortable in your own skin, there's a thing that will happen that I pray for each and every one of you. And that's called awareness. And that's what I wish everybody had, is you have the awareness that, wow, that's why I do that. Or, this is why I hear what that's happening. Or that's why I'm sort of scared to get rejected or whatever. Because when you fall in these other personality traits, you'll also understand why the things that are happening in the world keep distracting you. So if that's your personality, then you can find something else to be distracted by that's more creative and positive instead of focusing on something that would be negative and not creative. Because we do get to choose what we focus on.
No, I mean that's huge. And when you have
Absolutely.
like more of like, this is one of those things that I just love about all this stuff, right? And maybe this is we'll get into me in a second. We'll do a deep dive on Matt. But what I love about this is it really gives you the tools to understand yourself. And as you're growing as a person and you're starting to like figure out the things that you are and the things that you're not, like I think it's so good to be aware of who you are. Like if you know and you're aware, okay, you're going to see in a second, maybe I don't have the best communication with people that have feelings that are more emotional. Right. And that's something that I wanted to work on in my life. It was something that I wanted to get better at. And I feel like that's something that you can only do if you're aware, like you're saying, Dad. If you're aware of like, hey, this is some shit I deal with. This is where I'm like kind of dropping the ball as a person. And so I've grown in quite a few different ways, but in some, like
you guys are making me jealous. I wish that I would have focused and took this before we got on here.
Well, the thing is that we get to update everybody on the Inner Circle tomorrow because we're definitely going to push this again tomorrow. So if you
and
guys,
by the way, if you want to join the Inner Circle, go to roberthollis.com/join, and you could join the Inner Circle there.
Yep. Click the join button
by the
below.
Way, by the way, the Inner Circle are only for people that want to get better.
Oh. No. They want to get gooder. Come on, Robert. Use your own words.
I'm sorry.
It's funny.
Oh, there's my debater coming out.
Right.
There it is.
My God. Calm down. I'm the commander. So, all right. We'll go into me now. So I'm an ENTJ. At command, I'm ENTJ-A, so assertive.
Okay.
Commanders are bold, imaginative, and strong-willed, always finding a way or making one.
That's you.
I love this Steve Jobs quote in general, but your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Like in a lot of ways, when I've like gotten caught in bad times in my life, it's because I didn't follow this credo. It's when I started wasting time in my life for somebody else's dreams or desires or lifestyle or something like that, right? So, of course, I'm striving for greatness. Who isn't? You know?
Exactly.
But for me, it's
we'll see those personalities later.
Right. So it'll be interesting because I'm interested to see what other people in our community are ENTJs.
I am too.
Or you know, all three of us are extroverts. Being an introvert is like 3/4 of my friends and family are introverts. Nothing wrong with introvert. Doesn't mean anything. It's just how you have your social battery. Doesn't matter. You'll even see through these personality tests how beneficial it can be to be an introvert.
And
right?
just FYI, Susan is an introvert.
So is Hannah.
Wow.
So is my mom.
Okay, so there we go.
Yep.
Your
My mom's an INFJ. Yeah.
Okay. I can see where she's introverted, even though she can be very extroverted.
No, that's only when she's telling you to F off, as she
Well, I think this is, I think the difference between like an introvert and an extrovert is people are like, are they people pleaser? Are they people or not? Right. I think the realistic aspect of it is not that, but more so like, do you feel drained after social interactions with people, or do you feel energized by social interactions with people?
Right.
Like, do you need to, after a certain point, step away and like refill your social battery and go, geez, I just need time to myself. Right. Or are you like an extrovert, like one of us, where you're like, oh yeah, I'll talk to anybody anytime. I don't mind being on here or doing whatever. I mean, it doesn't mean you'll be fine in front of the camera. Extrovert doesn't automatically mean that, but it does mean that you'll probably like it a little bit more than others. So,
exactly.
Striving for greatness. If there's anything that this personality type loves, it's challenge. That's I relate with that a lot.
Yes.
Challenge honestly is
A
like
worthy challenge is what, especially what it said there. A worthy challenge.
right, because I think
That
like
that is definitely, because all the stuff that you do with AI.
right. If I get bored with something, like it really is a pain in the ass to keep doing it, and that's why I think I'm not really like the monotonous personality type. Like one thing that's really hard for me is to like I've always struggled with doing the businesses that my dad does because like speaking to people and being consistent in those ways, I'm always trying to think of a new way to do it, right? And so I'm probably one of the, even though it was funny, we asked GPT like what, and I'll pull that up too, but we asked GPT like what were the best personality types to be in marketing or like network marketing, and it gave us 4 solid personality types.
Yep.
So we'll share those, but we'll just go into my strengths and weaknesses here. I'm actually getting attacked by my 1-year-old corgi under my feet right now. So if it seems like I'm struggling, that's why. So here's my strengths. I'm efficient, energetic, self-confident, strong-willed, strategic thinker, charismatic, and inspiring.
All positives. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any of these people would probably. I feel like this one I probably relate with the least. Like
Efficient.
I'm efficient by maybe if you have different standards of what efficient is, you know, like I'm one of those people that has like a spur of energy and I'll like do something. I'm like the jam the test at the end of the before it's due. So like I can be efficient when I sit down and do it, but I'm also pretty scattered. So I wouldn't say that I'm always.
Well, I definitely see self-confident and strong-willed.
Energetic. Yeah. I mean, the amount of shit I do in a day, I don't know. I get it from my dad and mom. They're both that way. Like, I don't know where my dad gets the energy from. So I hope I have that much energy when I'm your age.
I think you will. I think you will because you'll figure it out.
I'll have AI. I'll have robot parts. So
yeah, I'm just constantly.
We can rebuild him.
Right. I'll be the $1 million man.
I'm constantly excited about the imagination that I'm creating.
Yeah, same. I think that's huge in it. Like even the energy, all of these have flipped and been bad for me or been the opposite through my life. I think there's a domino effect with a lot of these strengths and weaknesses where like if you're doing well at being efficient, energetic, and self-confident, it's pretty good to also then be strong-willed, strategic, and charismatic, right?
Yeah.
Like they feed off of each other.
Exactly.
And the negatives, I'll also say, feed off of each other, right?
Yes.
Like if you're stubborn and dominant, you're probably also intolerant, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So these are my weaknesses, and I've tried to get better at some of these. Some of these I'm still working on.
Gooder.
Yes. Gooder.
So stubborn and dominant. I used to always be this way, especially with ideas, right? Like in a very Steve Jobs like way where it was like my way or the highway. Now I'm a lot more like open to working with people. Intolerant.
Matt used to go on the internet to actually change people's minds about what they thought.
Yeah, I used to believe that worked. That's the efficiency part, because now I've realized I have to do that a different way. I have to be smarter about it. Because believe it or not, being intolerant and stubborn and impatient, and especially being arrogant, is not going to change anybody's mind. You're not going to lead anyone. If you try to lead people doing things this way, and
Are you serious? That's what everybody on every news program, that's all we see is people doing this.
Oh.
Well, they probably are ENTJs that haven't learned.
Well, then what network are you watching, Robert?
Right. No, yeah, it's like the discourse. It's funny because they'll guess some personality types, and we'll go through the celebrities after I get done with this. But yeah, arrogant, on and off, depends on what you pick, right? Like I can be pretty arrogant and impatient depending on what it is. It used to be like people's beliefs, not anymore. Like I respect people so much more now and who they are. But you know,
and
If you're,
That's where
if you're,
those traits they have like the two different poles, and you find yourself like in the middle or a little bit to the right or the
right.
left,
Yeah.
center. So yeah,
Yeah. If you're like
And that,
against certain people just because of who they are, these will come out. And that's, I think that's perfectly fine because of who I am. So
yeah.
it's like I become pretty impatient and intolerant with people that are also impatient and intolerant of other people.
Yeah.
And I think I get
Yeah.
that from you, Dad, for sure. It's like immediately I'm like the type of person to try to like get everyone involved in the group together, and someone's
Yep.
being an asshole, they go. You know what I mean? It's like don't do that shit. And that's where the cold,
Yeah,
cold and
when I
ruthless
shared
comes
this
in.
stuff with Josh Wagle, the owner of the company, he said, it'd be neat to know his personality.
It would
And
be.
so I shared this stuff with Josh Wagle, and the first thing that he said, now if we could just find a test to see if somebody's an asshole or not.
If I had to guess, I would guess that just from the things that I've seen about Josh, I would guess that he's an INTJ. If I had to guess. But I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm also not good at this. But these are like very, very analytical, but also like very direct people. And like you'll see some
Jeez.
amazing fucking people in here, like Elon Musk, Christopher Nolan, Nietzsche, Schwarzenegger,
Arnold.
Yep, Walter White, Littlefinger, Gandalf. So this is a great personality to be. It's actually what my brother is. So my younger brother is an INTJ, and my
Right.
older brother is I have everybody here. My older brother is an ENFP, a campaigner. So more like Robert Downey Jr., Robin Williams, Quentin Tarantino,
Oh wow.
Will Smith. That does kind of sound like him, doesn't it?
Yeah. It
Because
does.
he's definitely like an outgoing person for sure. Like more than me and my
every
younger
weekend,
brother.
every weekend, him and his wife are taking Olive and Ryder, my granddaughter and son. They're doing something every weekend, and if they come to here to visit us, they do stuff in Billings.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? They'll go
Right.
out and it's like
They get the rest of us Hollises out of the house. because we're like hermits, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
commander part of me really wants to just sit here and work on the empire and work on what I'm building.
Yeah.
And the great thing about having Hannah be the mediator personality type is she's so good at pulling me away and like getting
Yeah.
me to. So hers is more like Tolkien, Shakespeare, Alicia Keys, Julia Roberts, Johnny Depp. So yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to see? I'll find Mom's really quick, and then we'll go through my celebrities.
Okay.
And then we'll do you. But Mom's was INFJ, so she's an advocate. Oh man, definitely. Martin Luther King, Mandela, Mother Teresa.
Oh wow, look at those people.
Yeah, come on. I mean, that is my mom.
Jeez. Jon
Snow.
Yeah.
Aragorn, at least of the fictional.
Atticus Finch.
Fictitious. Yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
Ah,
It's interesting because
Gotta
you can
love 'em.
actually click why, and they'll get, for some of these, they'll give you why that personality type is that, like based
Really
off of
cool.
oh,
off
wow.
of what they've seen, certain people, right? So that's pretty cool.
So, seenpersonalities.com.
Yep. So we'll go through my celebrities and
Make
then
sure
we'll
to
move
click on our affiliate link that we have below.
We don't have one,
I'm
but if
kidding,
they'd
I'm
like to
kidding.
sponsor this podcast, that'd be great. know?
Absolutely.
We would push it a little more if there was
Hint,
some
hint.
cash involved for the kids, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right. Mine
Wait a
are,
minute. Scroll to the bottom and see if there's an affiliate program.
all these people commenting. I mean, we could,
Join us. Maybe join us. I don't know.
We're getting off track.
yeah, we are.
Yeah,
You'll-
true.
You'll see
Okay.
my personality trait coming out.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that what I would love, Dad, after this is today take it, and then we'll see if it's different on the inner circle tomorrow, because it's been
Yeah.
a bit since you've taken it. I think I
Yeah.
took it maybe like a year ago, and it was the same. But I should retake it too,
look
so
at
then
this.
we're all
Gordon
fresh.
Ramsay.
So you're gonna see like a bunch of like leaders here, and the ones that I feel good about are like 50% good, 50% bad, which is just about every person here. You know,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
great, inspiring guy, also kind of an asshole. Gordon Ramsay, kind of an asshole, but a great guy.
Yep.
Margaret Thatcher, kind of an asshole.
FDR.
Pretty great woman though. FDR, Jim Carrey, Whoopi Goldberg, Harrison Ford, Malcolm
You got some
X.
really good ones. Oh, hey, Doctor Strange. I mean,
Yeah,
wow,
Tony
right
Soprano.
Tony Soprano.
That's right. That's right. Francis Underwood, huh? House of Cards. Yep.
there. Oh, okay.
The Devil Wears Prada, Miranda. That's great.
Oh,
I always
wow.
loved Francis Underwood's cufflinks that said "F you" on them.
Yeah, I know, that was sick. See, I stopped watching that show the moment. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but
Yeah.
but anyway, so the personality type that my dad is, drum roll, is, at least in the past, he was an ESFP. So an ESFP is the entertainer. Oh my God.
I don't know. Robert, entertainer.
Right.
Oh, there's a great. I love that pose, Robert. There we go.
Personality. I know. I full screened him with it.
Yes, that was perfect.
The personality type with an extroverted, observant, feeling, and prospecting. So we don't know if you're an A or a T because I didn't save that part. So we'll figure that out.
I don't even remember that being a part of when I took it.
Maybe it wasn't when you took it. Yeah, whether you're assertive or not.
Between an A and a T?
Well, an assertive or a turbulent. If you're more passive or more assertive, basically. If you're more like people pleasing, or if you're more like, oh, it needs to be my way. So there's.
Yeah, I'm. What one is the pull your head out of your ass and do what I tell you?
It's going to be the assertive one.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, we're just going to assume that it's probably A. But live for each second without hesitation, Elton John.
Oh my God, that's Robert.
That is definitely you.
Live in the now.
Yep.
Right? It's funny. James Mulaney just commented and said he just did it. He's me. ENTJA, Commander. Commanders Unite.
Oh.
All right.
And I guess Eric is an ESFJA. So.
Oh, nice. Got a lot of assertive people in here, man.
Yeah,
that's why
and
you're
a lot
with
of
us, I guess.
extroverts.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure, like, I know who more of the introverted people will be, and that's why I said being an introvert's not a bad thing in any way. Living with passion. I'm going to read more of yours, Dad, than I did for me and Craig, just because.
Yes.
If anyone is to be found spontaneously breaking into song and dance, it's people with the ESFP personality type. They get caught up in the excitement of the moment and want everyone else to feel that way too. No other type is as generous with their time and energy when it comes to encouraging others, and no other type does it with such irresistible style.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty spot on. So it'll be interesting if it changed. But
what's another thing that I'd love to share with you guys too is
butt in on any of this.
I know eventually Hannah and my wife Terry will be on some of the podcasts, because there's absolutely no way that any one of you could understand who I was 38 years ago.
I think just a podcast with you two would be great, but then of course too, we could do all of our spouses and bring them on.
Yeah.
You know, now that I got this shared screen, we could even play games against each other. we could play board games.
Jackbox or something like that.
Yeah, Jackbox is fun. It is.
And when we talk about living in the now, you don't know how many times I've tried to click on the premium entertainer suite because I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to purchase and put this into action.
Right.
And it's like my mouse can't click on it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm in control. Yeah. Because I'm the commander. Come on.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll read more of this. Living with passion. ESFP, which by the way, Melody said nailed it. And Terry is our mother, Teresa. I wonder what Melody is too. I don't have her saved on here, but man, I bet you she's similar to my mom. At least if I had to guess, because I always feel the same like warmth around her. But ESFP personalities are inclined toward putting on a show, for others and genuinely or generally appear to be very comfortable in the spotlight. However, it's
Absolutely,
not their
Robert.
love for being the center of attention that drives this sense of confidence, but their knack for sensing what's appropriate in certain situations. That's the chameleon part of you for sure.
Yeah.
They have an uncanny ability to mirror the behaviors of those around them. What's so interesting is like,
Wow.
we're going to finish this, Dad, and you're going to be like, no, I'm not going to retake it. Actually, I'm okay with this diagnosis.
Yeah. I'm scared.
It's like, you're
to
healthy. Do you
retake
want a
it.
second
Now, wait,
opinion? No, I'm good.
When did Robert take this based on this version?
Oh, this was probably 2014, 2015 when we did a whole video and training on it.
Okay.
So,
just making sure.
James said, I'm definitely a commander when my wife lets me. Yeah, that's me too.
Oh, Melody says she thinks she's an ENFT. So you got to remember that one.
I'll write it down. ENSPs truly enjoy the simplest things, and there's no greater joy for them than having fun with a good group of friends. People with this personality type would almost always choose to be with friends over spending time alone.
Yep.
With their unique and earthly wit, they love soaking up attention and making every get-together feel a bit like a party. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely more noticeable when you're not on the calls. So I try to give as much energy, and I had what I thought was my other entertainer, but now I know is my debater friend.
Right.
On here
There
with
you
me.
go.
It's not just talk either. ESFPs tend to have the strongest aesthetic sense of any personality type. From grooming and outfits to well-appointed home, they have an eye for fashion. Tell me about it.
There you go, Robert.
I would say, but that's the thing though, is like, yes, it's an eye for fashion, but I'd say it's more of like I'll wear whatever I want. I don't care what you say about it.
Right.
Is what I would say it is, and that is you to a T. So, knowing what's attractive the moment they see it, they aren't afraid to change their surroundings to reflect their personal style. This type is naturally curious, exploring new designs and styles with ease. Well, I mean, you have had the same style, but it's multiple different colors. Probably every color that's ever existed is in your closet. But I think it's fun.
The reason that there's a little bit of me like the person that wears the same stuff all the time, like Jay Leno. You know what I mean? Because I just tell people before I wore these shirts, my ties look like that. I would find the craziest looking ties. People would say to me all the time, does that tie have a battery in it? It would be that out there. And when people ask me, why do you get a tie like that? And I'm going, hey, my ties match everything in my closet.
Robert, I always got that comment when I wear that bright green tie. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Oh man, you gotta. Is that the one that you've had the whole Irish suit on with?
That's the one. Yeah, and matching socks too.
Yeah, I feel like that's why you gotta have a blue screen, right? So you can still wear your full green getup when St. Patrick's Day shows up. So a spontaneous spirit. The biggest challenge they face is that they're often so focused on immediate pleasures that they neglect the duties and responsibilities that make luxuries possible. Complex analysis, repetitive tasks, and matching statistics to real consequences are not easy activities for people with the ESFP personality type. This is why he surrounds himself with us analyticals.
Yeah,
because it helps. Yeah, I'm more statistical. I'm like, hey, this video worked, and he's like, great, I'll just do that again. Excellent. He's like, I'm like, no, this is how it worked. And he's like, don't need to care. Just I'll do it again. I'll do that. I'll entertain. I'll do what I have to do. So they recognize value and quality, which is its own fight trait in combination with the tendency to be poor planners, though. It can cause them to live beyond their means. Credit cards can be dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Be
I
better
can max
with your money.
I don't know anyone that can max out cards faster than me.
That's why you have to have cash flow.
That's why I had to find an opportunity that could pay my bills.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to go into the celebrities. So Elton John.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe, Jamie Oliver, which is a chef, popular chef. Adele, Jamie Foxx, Steve Irwin. I mean, all these people are like nice people too. Miley Cyrus, Adam Levine.
Crikey.
Interesting photo for Adam Levine. Dandelion from The Witcher, Ygritte, Penny. I didn't watch any of these shows, but Captain Marvel. Didn't watch Bones, and then Penegrin Took. Yeah.
I think Ygritte is Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Right. Jon Snow's.
Who is
Yeah,
Jack
Jon Snow's.
Dawson?
Jack Dawson from Titanic. It's
Yeah.
the main character.
Isn't that Johnny
it.
Depp's character?
No,
I would definitely.
Jack Dawson from Titanic is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Leonardo.
I
That's what
would.
meant.
I would definitely allow anybody to stay on the door.
Yeah.
you drown for someone else, for the ones you love. Well, maybe you both could have fit. You know,
There's the debate.
Maybe
Yeah.
if she'd move over. No, they've tested it. Believe it on MythBusters, and they know they could have fit. But anyway, these are your strengths and weaknesses. So we'll go through strengths first. Bold, and you can pause me at any time to talk about these.
Yeah.
Bold, people with the ESFP personality type aren't known for holding back, wanting to experience everything there is to experience. They don't mind stepping out of their comfort zones when no one else is willing. Now, if I could speak on this for a second, my dad is, if you get him out of the house and say, let's go out and have fun, or you go on a trip, he's like one of the best people to travel with because he's always the one going, let's go do an excursion. Let's get out. Let's go do this or that. Mm-hmm. He's not really the person that's like, hey, let's chill in the room. You know what I mean? Which is awesome to travel with.
I want me and my family to experience things that take their breath away.
Absolutely. And speaking of, that's going to be happening more now.
Yep.
Right? Original. Traditions and expectations are secondary to this personality type. If a consideration at all, ESFPs love to experiment with new styles and consistently find new ways to stand out in the crowd, not stopping at mere outfits. They inject stylistic creativity into their words and actions too. Yes. Every day is a performance, and they love to put on a show. I mean, every day you do your lives now.
I share that with Craig. You know what I mean?
Right.
Every place that Craig and I have ever been together, there was nobody else in the room that was dressed like us.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's great though. I love that.
That everyone would look at what Craig was wearing and what I was wearing, and they're going like, I would never pull that off. And it's like,
and that was it. It's like, you know, okay, that's them. We got it.
Right. So positive and enthusiastic. ESFPs are known for their zest for life and infectious enthusiasm. They naturally exude the kind of positivity that lights up a room and draws people to them. And this often translates into an engaging charisma that can inspire those around them. They tend to approach life and its multitude of experiences with an open mind, ready to immerse themselves in the new, the delightful, and the unexpected.
Man, I'm ready to go conquer some more empires right now.
Yeah, right. Hands-on and observant. To the ESFP, the world is meant to be felt and experienced. They prefer to see and do than the wax philosophical about what ifs. Yeah, you're definitely more of a doer than a what if.
The wax
right.
on, wax
off.
on,
wax off. You even have it on the wall there. It's saying you weren't that way though.
Oh.
Excellent people skills. That's to a T, my dad. Okay, we're gonna get into weaknesses now.
Good.
Sensitive.
Yes.
Conflict averse. Ignore and avoid conflict entirely.
Totally.
Easily bored. I think you, especially now that you're older and wiser, Dad, I think conflict averse has changed more into this isn't worth my time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, because I've seen my dad, because he's built big organizations, deal with people's shit. And now it's not, it's like, oh, it's more like giving them wisdom and like, this problem I dealt with, stop it. You know what I mean?
I've now adapted more of a coach mentor thought pattern that that as much as I want them to rescue themselves, I used the sensitive part was Matt has watched me quit doing stuff because people would not participate in their own rescue.
Right.
So the reason I no longer have a coaching career is because I'm not willing to take people's money just to get money. If I can't put them in a better place and they can't get results from what I'm doing, I'd rather not take their money. I don't need it. And a lot of other coaches just told me that Matt knows this. A lot of other coaches are like, let's treat this like a university. It's a business. If people give you money and they don't show up and don't get a degree, that's not your fault. If they do participate and get a degree and do nothing with it, it's still not the university's fault. See what I mean? I'm sensitive to the point where I feel like it's my fault. So if you guys have ever seen me really lean on that, it's like, again, it's good to be aware of your weaknesses.
It's true. No, that's so true, because then it allows you to kind of get to know yourself and not, like, say if you're easily bored, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'd say that
I embrace my weaknesses.
Well, I was gonna say that the easily bored one is really interesting to me, because I wouldn't say that you are easily bored. I'd say that the things that I've seen you do that are monotonous are pretty.
Yeah.
Especially when you say master
how many
the
times?
mundane.
Right. How many times, like even before when you were a mechanic, how many times did you do the same thing over and over and over again? But were you bored by it?
I'll tell you where the easily bored is there, though.
Sure.
Okay. I never ever give up with a way to make it more efficient and compression of time frames. I get bored doing the same thing the same way. So my constant challenge of making it simpler, easier to understand, and duplication. It's like, I always see that if people are not doing something, I don't think it's based on their personality or their past. I think that I haven't made it easy enough.
I mean, that's difficult, because that's like, obviously, that's you can like dig a deep hole on yourself by doing that, for sure, because you like we talked about, even one of the big things that has changed for me recently is that whole action statement. You're not your accomplishments, you're your actions. And so that's something you control every day. What actions are you taking today?
Yeah.
Right. So I think I easily see how that would come into play. Thanks for sharing that, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So poor long-term planners. This is why he's got me and my mom.
Yeah. If you guys have never ever thought, golly, Robert, why don't you just do what Tony Robbins is doing or Eric Worre is doing? I don't plan anything. So I would have to have an event planner.
Yeah. Which we'll get eventually.
Yeah. I need, when I've seen some of the events that Craig's pulled off, I can't wait for us to get there.
No, absolutely.
And so
that's what I'm saying.
So when I'm the guy that has got everyone going bananas out in the hallway before the doors open up. And I've met everyone already. And then when the doors open up, I'm still meeting everyone there until Craig taps on my shoulder and he goes, "We need to mic you up. You're up next." Oh, okay. Okay. And I need to be mic'd up, told when I'm getting on, and I do the do, and then I'm off, and then I'm spending the rest of the time connecting with other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it's like it showed connection and entertaining, like those two aspects of it. Because like when you speak, I think one of the things too, that if you've seen my dad live, like one of the things that's crazy about it is not just that he doesn't script what he does, but also how spontaneous and entertaining that allows you to be. Like, honestly, I know for a fact, Dad, you would crush in like improv. You know what I mean? Like in those
Yeah.
like SNL type
I
situations
I think Craig
because
would too. I think Craig's
oh yeah,
quick thinker on his feet.
both of you guys, you're always throwing stuff at me. I'm like
And what's that? And
dodging
what's
and
that
weaving.
last one?
The last one on here is unfocused. I knew you were gonna say. You're like, what was that last one? Anything that requires long-term dedication and focus is a challenge for people. In academics, dense, unchanging subjects are much more difficult than more dynamic, relatable subjects. The trick for them is to find day-to-day joy and broader goals and to tough it out with those tedious things that must be done. So, hey, you got your romantic relationship. So when you guys take this test, obviously you can do the premium versions of them. And like I said, we're not sponsored by them or anything.
Make sure you click on my affiliate link.
Yeah. But you can get like more
I
information.
don't have one. I don't have
past
one.
these.
But even for the free version, it's incredible
you get a lot of
how
stuff.
accurate or well, how close it is to the personality that you have.
Yeah.
Right.
And two, also like once you have this information, you could just talk to GPT about it. Like honestly, there's so many websites and information on the Myers-Briggs
Yesterday, remember,
test.
Matt, we're gonna talk about this. I last night we threw in here what we want to go more in depth with in the inner circle is help people look at their personality trait and then use AI to basically figure out how they can do this business. Because here's something that I thought was really amazing when we were going through this personality stuff with the person that first showed it to me is if I know what a person's language is, if you'll notice, I'll give you just a simple example. We've all heard A-type personalities. You'll notice that A-type personalities are constantly asking, when is this going to happen? When. Amberable personalities are all about, is this going to be fun? Are we going to do some stuff that's fun? You know what I mean? It's all that way. And then analytical people are like, how? You know, how do you do this? And so when you constantly hear someone that's an enamorable personality tell you, listen, just do it. You don't need to understand. They're like, that ain't happening.
Like, okay, I only have to go against my whole will to make that happen, which you can do, but
yeah. And then if you ever see charities that are wrapped around what would be considered, Matt, because I know you studied this, what would be considered like a yellow personality, the person that is a tree hugger?
I mean, honestly, it would fit into that entertainer area. Like,
no, drop down and look
right?
at personality types.
Because I think, I mean, it's interesting, even entrepreneurs down here, so maybe not. But like, I would say,
see, they're more like logical. See, they're more like a counselor,
right?
You know, a therapist. So you would never put a therapist in a same section as an entertainer.
No.
You see what I mean?
But they don't though, because I think they call these explorers, right? Which is more like people that
and
are
there's the breakdowns of each
diplomatic,
of the
analysts, sentinels, and explorers.
Isn't that how they relate to each? It looks like it's almost a relation type thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these are the people that don't mind change, basically.
Got it.
Which entrepreneur would easily fit in there because you kind of have to be okay with change to be an entrepreneur.
It's constant change.
Right.
People that can handle change, that want things to go back the way they were, just don't understand that the one consistent thing is change. Everything's changing and it's always changing. So you got to be flexible. And when I was talking about the personality traits, people that are very nurses, people that therapists, people that are, volunteers. It's funny that personality trait will be on both sides of the street protesting for what they believe in. They don't know that they're going after something different, but they don't know the people across the street from them that they're arguing with is the same personality.
Right.
Because the other three groups are like, I'm not interested in protesting. I got shit to do.
Right.
I'm building an empire about what's now and in the future. You guys are fighting about things that already happened. So it's really funny when you understand these people, because if you've ever seen a commercial and they use a celebrity, now that we're showing you this stuff, you guys, do you understand how much billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars, are spent from people that do advertising that understands that they're going after every one of these types?
Yeah, they make whole, I mean, we've done it. You make whole ad
Yeah.
campaigns just for these particular types, right?
So,
Because you
so
communicate,
one
everybody communicates
personality,
differently.
yeah, like we're talking about one personality, if we're just talking about automobiles, all right? Do you notice that when they show a Volvo or a Saab or a Subaru, why are they always talking about, hey, if you come down and buy a Subaru, we're going to put a bunch of stickers on your car of the charities that we support? They're safe. They're reliable. An opposite of that personality would be a person that wanted to buy a Ferrari. Do you know that? Do you know you don't have to advertise to the type A personalities? And so if they show a Mercedes car, the windows are always tinted because a red personality don't want anybody in their car. Leave my car alone. So now a Volkswagen Bug. All right. So now all of a sudden we're talking about a Volkswagen Bug or a car that, is around the peaceful people. You know what I mean? If you guys have seen Woodstock, you always seen a certain car that it was just like, the car's not important. The car's got to get me to point A to point B. And I'll paint it multiple colors. Then they do an advertisement for the blue amberable people, the fun enjoyment people, because they always got to show this as a convertible. And it's got to be driving on the beach with the
Right.
top down. And it's got to have a loud stereo.
It's like
So
life on the highway.
so people
Yep.
in that personality will spend more money on a stereo system than the car itself.
This is where the advertisers get into the psychology of things.
Yep. And so every one of these guys, when people hear like General Motors, right? I'll just say some cars. So your General Motors makes Cadillac Escalades. And three personality traits would all say, I'm not paying another $20,000 for a chrome package. I'll just get myself a Tahoe. But they're not the same vehicle in any sense. But that's the words that people will say. I'm not paying more money just to have Cadillac on it versus Chevrolet versus.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between GMC pickup and a Chevy pickup? The market they're going after.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The nameplate too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just the people that they're marketing to.
Well, listen, if you want to really like lose your mind over some of this shit, just Google and see like how many competing companies Nestle owns that compete against its own companies that they own. Like,
Yes.
you'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to buy from this brand. I'm going to buy their competitor. Actually, you just bought from the same company. They made the competitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or premium brands. There's certain premium brands that you're like, I'm going to buy their organic premium brand, also owned by Nestle. They're selling the cheaper one and they're selling the expensive one. Guess what? They might even be made in a close to the same place. You know?
They are made in the same place.
Right. It's like Nestle's
I've
bottled
been-
water, right?
I've been at one of the largest coffee manufacturers on the planet. And I know for a fact that they set up the time to come see them so we could see this, right? So you're seeing folders, packaged for South America, and it was running through the chain. And all of a sudden we heard this noise and lights started blinking and the assembly line shut down. And he was standing there and he's going, pulled one off the rack, shows us the Folgers brand. It was all in Spanish, for South America. And then he put it down. They started it back up. We probably waited like 3 minutes. And all of a sudden it was the same assembly line and it was all Kirkland.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, wait a minute. Then he looked at me and he said, 43 different brands of coffee get made by this manufacturer.
What do they call that? White labeling?
Yep.
Yeah. Which I know is like,
even people that take the time to do patents on things, then the patent laws say that it's got to be 10% different. So it was always great for me when I was in that market, because all we were asking them to add was Lingxi mushroom. That made it 10% different. What was the best seller? This is the best seller. Great. We want that bean, that roast, that way of doing it. Throw Lingxi mushrooms in it. Let's go to work.
no, I know that's normally how a lot of, but that's ideas in general, right? It's like
Right.
Oh, this is a great idea, but let's twist it. Let's make it a little different. Let's put our own little spin on it. It's
Got
like
it.
every single time I do the dishes, I use a scrub daddy. And every single time I'm reminded, there's other sponges than these. I've used scrub daddies for so long, and yet
Yeah.
it was like a product that you'd assume already existed, and why didn't it? It's
Right.
like, why? Because I've used the other sponges, and we have some, and they suck. Like, huge fan of the scrub daddies and scrub mommy ones. So I take it from me, I'm the dishes person in our family. So
I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
right. Anyway, I there's one last thing that I think we wanted to share as we're about an hour and a half in. As you can see on the screen right now, Dad, it's the top traits. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? Because you're saying tomorrow we're going to share. We'll kind of like tease people for tomorrow.
Yeah. Again, if you were an owner, which I keep trying to help people, maybe that's another thing we AI is what personality traits are more owners than the other. Because, I always tell people, do me a favor. Don't be the person behind the counter asking if you want to supersize that. All right. You need to think a level bigger. Oh, the manager? No. Another level bigger. Cash flow quadrant. I want to be the owners of the McDonald's. You see what I mean? So when I get people to think about being an owner, then you need to fill all the positions. So if you can come from the mindset that you can identify an avatar that is naturally great at this. That's why I'm saying that, in my book, I talk about a guy named Sean Hennigan. Sean Hennigan, let me explain to you so you guys can see maybe what personality trait he's in. He was a stand-up comedian for traffic school. Okay.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. That was one of his jobs. Okay. The other job is when people used to call in on 900 numbers and get someone to read their cards for them, their tarot cards. That's what he would do.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I mean, I know what tarot cards are, but
Right. Well, someone's just telling you your fortune.
over
right?
the phone.
Over the
Over
phone.
the phone.
They call a
Okay.
900 number and it's you get
So-
charged on your phone bill for that service.
When the internet came
I know,
out.
Matt. I know.
when the internet came out, then he did it online.
Right. And now he could have a podcast or a YouTube channel.
This was
Exactly.
my sponsor. This guy was my sponsor. So the way that the industry has progressed and gotten gooder is Sean Hennigan today, if he was the one that sponsored Terry and I in the last 6 years, he would have easily made over $1.5 million. So, people that are into crystals and auras and and I'm going like how is this going to help me help more people to make more money? You know what I mean? I'm going like so how would that be important? Why do you think that Josh Swagel has the Swagel Foundation? Wait a minute. If I buy something, I can actually plant a tree as well? Ah, we got a lot of that personality in here. So, there's a lot of people that, are actually partaking on social media. I'm like in my mind, I want a million of those because in the cannabis world, and those people are usually um laid back, loyal, loyal, loyal. They yeah,
Yeah.
they really, really care for people. Why wouldn't you want a group of people around you like that? And so sometimes my environment, my culture doesn't attract the A-type personalities, but I know how to sponsor them. What a concept. I might never ever played football, but I could own a football team and find a quarterback and find a coach. So yesterday, what we did is what personality traits does this business naturally go for? Okay, good. Right. Right. The rest of the world. Yeah. No, they make you sign an NDA, and if you tell anybody what you're making, you'll get fired. Am I telling the truth, Craig?
100. Yep.
Yeah, I'm at. It's like what personalities are the best for this. So, ESFJ. ESFP, ES or ENFJ, and ESTJ, ENTJ. So you're gonna get a lot of E's in there, obviously. But because you could do the business now from home, I think introvert, because you can just bow out when you're like tired.
Yes.
You know,
Well, let
before
me
when you
tell
had to
you,
stand
yeah.
outside and like talk to people, yes,
Well, this
extroverted
is what
probably
I
helps, but
did. If people listen to my story, they would get it. So I was not a people person. I really was an introvert. And if you wanted to talk to me, you would have to go to the garage where I'm building a race car. And you got to talk to me while I'm focused on building a race car.
mm.
So if you're okay with interacting with me while I'm grinding on something or welding on something, if you're okay with that, then you can have my attention. I'm not stopping what I'm doing in my creation mode to just sit around and bullshit about nothing. So I'm trying to get better. Maybe I'm not. I'll take that back. Um, so when people reach out to me on social media and they go, "Where are you from?" My response is, "So you can't look at a profile."
Mm-hmm.
See, if they're not going to look at my profile and ask me questions about my profile, then what I do is I give them a gift and they go, "What is this?" And I go, "It's not about pitching me. It's about connecting with me." And then that's what they do. They pitch me.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. And so,
In one
of
ear, out
course,
the other. Or I guess in this situation, well, you do
yeah, they're
send voice
very
messages,
rarely
so I guess that would.
does I do set it up in a way. Someone today, I go, I seen you on the list, from business
Oh,
from home,
yeah.
right? And he goes, "You're really arrogant." And my response was, "You're very unaware."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's like,
Wow.
and 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 he came back and he goes, "I didn't expect that response." And I said, "One day you'll remember this conversation when you really want to build something long term that means something for you and your family. But I see you're in that cycle where you're just excited about the next thing that happens. When you're ready to learn how to do this business, I'll be here." And he apologized. And I'm just going, listen, I remember, you know, people going from company to company to company to company. I'm not that person. I don't want to know 13 different kinds of martial arts and be a yellow belt in all of them. I want to know one martial art and I want to continue getting my degrees. So what do you think I thought when I seen that list? Step one, he said it needed to be updated. So I asked him when the last time it was updated. He said he didn't know. And I go, well, then add 3.8 million to that. Second, looked at the updated list and went, I need to get number one. It's only 400 million. I got time.
Yeah.
that's a lot of. I can't imagine how much that would help people too. Like just
Oh my
the
God.
amount
Yeah.
of giving that unlimited wisdom could do with 400 million. I mean, Jesus. So,
Yeah. And so when some people will do this and they'll become aware and they'll, again, my total thing is always, I wish they would do the school system this way, is I wish that kids were taught how to take this test properly.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt and I both agree, I know with Craig too, is eventually there's going to be something that's just going to watch your interactions and figure out what personality trait you are.
yeah.
An AI could tell by just the words you say.
You can
And
tell by your face.
I've studied this so much, and it means so much to me to understand and properly communicate to help the other 15 personality traits get where they need to go in life. And so that's why people feel like I'm not judging them, because I need you just to be more of who you're already created to be. Then I need you to know that the schools should be teaching people, once they test them, to be the best at being what they're gifted at. You know, I always had bad grades in school and was told that I was in a special class only for one reason. I couldn't pass a grade because English and reading and writing. I told people, when people talk about the 3 basics, I got math down. I'll kick your ass on math and science. But the other ones were reading and writing. I suck at the other 2 really bad. So I just wish that you would find exactly your gifts and get gooder at them. Get gooder at them. Because here's what all this stuff is about. Your ability to connect with another human being where they actually feel like you give a shit. That's what we're trying to master. To master your ability to communicate with people online and be able to figure out, oh, that's what this person is. And then guess what? How fast I could get them in front of my mentor. Because my mentor would never say the same thing to anybody. And that's when I started mastering this stuff. That's when I knew the rest of the world when it came to people doing affiliate marketing or home-based businesses or network marketing. That's why I look at the majority of the world and I go, they are freaking clueless. Here's something I want you to really think about. That list that got published by TED, and now it's all over the internet. And I was looking at that whole entire list, and there was some names missing. Yeah, people that are coaches, life coaches, generic network marketing trainers. They got left off the list because they're in a totally different category. They're in marketing the most shit ever. You know what really blows my mind, and this is bad, is when you see another trainer and another trainer and another trainer, and they're all doing their best to try to sell shit to people. So the very next thing you do is you see them promoting each other's programs. Why? Because it's an affiliate marketing program. The first affiliate marketing program that I got involved with Ray Higdon, I destroyed the contest. No one could catch me. And Ray Higdon told me later that he had to take a couple of days off and really focus with a couple of people because he didn't want me being brand new, being coached by him. And the first contest, I kick his ass. He really had to focus, and he did it. Kudos to him. So it'd be like all of a sudden you're playing, one-on-one with Michael Jordan. And it's the first 1 to 10. And then you score like 2 3-pointers. And he goes, hang on, timeout. And he goes over and he takes his jacket off. It's like, we're getting zoned in here. And now you see a different character because you immediately showed him what he had to do. And you're like, no, there's too many people here. He's not kicking my ass. And the next thing you know, he's dunking over you. You know what I mean? And all.
Look, I should have just stayed sitting down. What am I?
Yeah.
Why am I such an idiot?
Yeah. And so that's why I'm really excited to each and every one of you really getting to understand this, because And me and Matt have talked about this, and Craig, if you try to look at your life and what are you doing 3 years from now? Let me change your imagination. Your imagination is doing what you love doing most. And your financial situation, because you're doing that, is attracting an audience that knows, likes, and trusts you. That parasocial thing that Matt has shared with us. And then when you're not doing it for money anymore and you're only doing it to build people, now all of a sudden the number one thing is being able to make people feel better than they did in the past. Because if you can just be good at helping people figure out how they can change the things they want to change. See, a lot of people will look at this and they'll do exactly like we talked about, the 3 groups, right? There's a large group of people that think personality traits are bullshit. And they're right. For them. Me, when I was given this information, I'll leave you guys with one other one really quick. The funniest thing that I seen is those 3 groups where all the groups are split up, right? And Bill would say one word: toilet paper. And that group had to discuss among themselves 3 words that meant what toilet paper meant to them. And have all 4 groups have 3 different words. And we've been covering this a lot for the last year. It's very hard to communicate with people when if we took the word love, L-O-V-E, and had everyone write what that meant to them. When you got 100 people and then you got 100 different descriptions of one word that we're all using to communicate. And if you translate that word into different languages, it's got a different meaning. If you guys are seeing the chaos that is happening in the world, it's because of one thing: lack of communications and the lack of respect for somebody else's personality trait. That's all it is. I don't want to take the time to know who Matt is. I don't give a shit what he likes or doesn't like. My goal is to get him to be and think and do like me. That's the only thing that's going to make me like Matt. Wow. And guess what? The Congress, I just heard this, the Congress by the end of this year is going to set a record. Our government is going to set a record. They accomplished least in the 4 years they were, 2 years or 4 years in their office, than any Congress that's ever been in office. And they said that the only Congress that did less than this Congress is the first one, because they didn't know what to do. Golly.
That's spooky.
So here's my opinion. Here's what I'm fighting for, which is what I'm doing. And if you don't think the way I do, so if the government's not doing it that way and the countries are not doing it that way, because we're not the only country that's got protests going on. There's a lot of unrest happening everywhere in the world. And it's people that feel, listen to me, they feel like no one cares. They feel like no one's listening to them. And when they want to tell you, you're told to shut the F up. I seen a post yesterday. The best way to get peace, no, the worst way to get peace in the world is tell people what they need to do. How many of us really respond well to why don't you calm down? Why don't you think correctly? Why aren't you rational? Why aren't you caring? Why don't you give a shit? Do you guys see that we're going through all personalities? There's a whole group of people that will do more for humanity than any group because they're focused on solving something, and they're focused on solving that humanity problem. These are not the people that are engaged in complaining about the problem. This is two groups. So when they get in a room together, they don't like to be around each other. They don't like what the other side stands for. They don't like the way they think. And whether you watch Bill Maher or not, I watch different perspectives so I can get better at thinking the way they think. The only time you'll see me get irritated with people is when they're either know-it-alls, because I know they don't. And how do I know that? Because I know I don't know it all. So when someone tells me what happens and why this happens, and you know why they're doing this, I know they're just listening to somebody else that made the guess, that just had a little more confidence than they did. That's it. So they have more confidence in their opinion, so other people listen to those opinions, and they become sheeple. So when you got to figure out what we talked about starting this, it's just very hard to find people that you should mirror and match that get the outcome of life that you want if you don't know who you are. So we just talked about all the people that don't know who they are and they're not working on themselves. So how easy is it to influence this group of people? Oh my God, it's like taking candy away from a baby.
Especially if you've read a couple of books on psychology and how humans work, like, how to win friends and influence people, or if you really wanted to get into like the diabolical 48 laws of power.
Please elaborate, Matt, because when you read those books, you changed the way you interacted with people.
Yeah, because you realize like how little people actually think about things outside themselves. Like what those books help you do is like really recognize the areas that are the pitfalls, and social media and a lot of things use this on us, but the pitfalls of where human beings are. And it doesn't matter. Like I love this saying that there was a guy that was a anti crimes person, right? He investigated Ponzi schemes,
right,
in particular. And I remember watching this documentary about what's his face, the guy that took everyone's money. Craig, help me out. He's like
the
biggest.
The Jinx.
Sam.
No, not Sam Bankman-Fried.
No, it was the other guy. The HBO had a whole series on.
Bernie Madoff. Yeah,
Bernie Madoff.
Bernie Madoff, right? So I was watching this documentary on Bernie Madoff because I like to know, and I'm like, who is this Bernie Madoff guy? I really didn't know a lot about it. So I watched it. And what was so fascinating about the documentary is there was a part in this documentary where the guy that was that investigated Ponzi schemes, at the end, they were talking to people that had their money stolen, and it cut to him, and he's like, I had my money invested with Bernie Madoff. So this dude investigates Ponzi schemes and still fell for the biggest Ponzi scheme. And that just goes to show how far those confidence and those things can go, right? But that's the how to win friends and influence people. That's
it's really, really is. And here's the sad thing about it is, we talked about this in another video. When people see how can this stuff happen to people, it's always because it's one generation away. So you might believe that you have discernment and gut feelings and instincts, and you're good at reading people. But if they heard from somebody else that they're following, that they believe in, Now, when that person's sharing with you a scam, it's coming from the heart because they believe the scammer. So all Bernie Madoff needed to do is the first people that invested with him is just send them a statement that showed that they made money. So you put $1 million in, and you're, who's the guy that did Footloose?
Oh,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin
6
Bacon.
degrees of separation thing.
Yeah.
Right?
So Bacon gets involved with Bernie Madoff. And then he gets a statement, invest $1 million. 6 months later, he's made 1.2 million. He's made $200,000 and a half a year. So now Kevin Bacon goes, what are you doing for investments? Why? What do you got? Made $200,000 in 6 months. He didn't know the statements were fake. So the first level of people and the second level of people are really going through hundreds and billions of dollars, because now Bernie Madoff just has to throw a party. And when everyone shows up, they're too busy connecting with each other, telling each other how much the other one made. It's sad.
Yeah.
And
It's that
last
social
night,
proof, though. It is.
Yep.
Like, it
last
goes
night,
far away.
last night in that roast by Tom Brady, virtually all of the people said he's an incredible quarterback, but he can lose $30 million for you like that. Because he was a spokesperson for that other kid that did the FTX.
FTX, yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried, right?
Mhm.
And everyone made jokes of him because he goes, one of the guys, I think it was Grunk or one of them, his players, said the only time he's ever seen Tom Brady scared, it was the guy that he was doing commercials for got indicted. And I've never seen anyone erase all their contacts out of their phone faster than Tom Brady.
Whoa.
And he goes, I go, what are you doing? He goes, I got to get these all out of my phone before the FBI shows up.
Oh, Jesus.
And we're just talking about that. For that kid to do better than Bernie Madoff as far as scamming people, do you think he knew these personalities?
Oh,
How do you take someone like, Tom Brady and all the other spokespeople that were involved in that?
Larry David, which is like one of the most. Larry David did a commercial.
Damon also.
Matt Damon. Yeah. So these people are not like.
You don't think that they would be
non-intelligent
people that
They're
would
very
be taken?
smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they're gifted at the thing that they mastered and they're not good at other things.
Right.
I've never said this publicly, but I know people know it. That long-term thing that's a negative for me, to think that I've mastered cash flow. I have not mastered investing. And so I raise a bunch of money, and then I'll put it in something that I don't have my 10,000 hours in. And I trust other people have gotten 10,000 hours. And so I sadly would relate to Tom Brady. I'm good at making millions of dollars. But when I see that 60 million on that dock and I go, where is it? No, I'm not saying that I haven't enjoyed an incredible life. But when I got hunks of money in the bank and then I lease a beautiful palace overlooking the ocean in the richest zip code on the planet, believing in a guy that it was a lease option to buy. And then all of a sudden I get a knock on the door from the mail lady. And she says, I'm telling you, sir, what I'm about ready to tell you. If you reported me, I'll lose my job. But you've always said some nice things to me. You've always treated me good. And I'm like, what? And she says, see this letter that keeps coming to your residence? Yeah. This person that's selling the house to you, he hasn't paid payments on it in years.
I remember this. This was insane. And this was like the Vista Lucci house. This is the one in
Newport
Coast. So you'd think like
Oh,
out of all the places you'd probably pay
Yeah.
for.
yeah.
And so I called this guy up, the guy that's the landlord, and I said, I need to see documentation that you paid payments. He goes, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm in a lawsuit and I'm not going to pay payments on that house. And I said, then they're going to take it away from you, right? He goes, no, my lawyers are smart. They're never going to be able to take it from me. And I know today that he still owns it. So this guy was just a scam person, big time. Because if he hasn't paid payments on it, how can I pay payments on it and ever own it? It's like in forever limbo and litigation. Do you guys? So, a lot of people always tell me, oh my God, you don't know. I made a mistake because I didn't understand personalities and they knew me more than I knew them. And they took advantage of me. They stole my money. Man, I should just be a big sucker. I have made some of the stupidest investments. And then I feel bad about it for about a second. And then I go build more cash flow.
I think that's the key of it, though, is like you learn from those situations and you go, like you said, okay, if I want to go this route, I need to make sure that I'm aligned with the right people that have the 10,000 hours. And like we even talked about, that's hard to find because you never really
Very
know.
hard to find.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, is that a passion of yours? Because if you have the ability to grow something, there's many businesses that are worth a lot of money that people make a lot of money from that they're privately owned businesses. They're not publicly traded and they have no interest in being in the stock market. They're generating just 100% pure like cash flow. Right. And they need to. They're not the investments most of the time are, depends on the business, right? If it was AI, you'd be getting them.
Yeah, when we're going through the strengths and weaknesses, and you really realize that some of your weaknesses make you the loving, caring person that you are. Just understand that there's opposite personality traits that will use that for your weakness, for their strength to manipulate you. And, short-term thinking. And so when I first learned these personalities, and then when I was no longer with my mentor, I tell this story because it makes me emotional as well. And so I got so good with my mentor that when I left him and started learning more, I just went, wow, am I just a professional closer and manipulator? Because if I'm mirroring and matching someone that took advantage of me, that ended up getting me on 2020 with Barbara Walters and Hugh Downs and ended up getting his company taken away. I was really lost for like a year because I thought that everything that I done and everything that I learned was I taking advantage of people. These people got hurt and they looked at me as being one of the reasons that they joined the company.
Well, it's similar to the Kevin Bacon thing. It's like you can have all of the best intentions and
so
there's a movie, The Boiler Room, that goes through this too.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know there's and I'll always shout this woman out. I was sharing this with a person and her name is Meg Richardson and she worked for IBM. And she said, I want you to come in tomorrow and apply for a job. And I go, what? She goes, just trust me. She worked in the HR department and she knew me from network marketing. And she said, yeah, I want you to come in. I know the job that we're going to say that you're going for, but we need you to take this personality test. And I said, okay. I filled it all out. And she called me, said, we got the results, come in. And she said, Robert, you're not a manipulator. You're a persuader. The people that fit in the persuader slot are coaches, people that are always trying to get people to do what they can do, and they're the benefactor. A manipulator gets people to do things they don't want to do, and they're the benefactor. And so to think that I really understood these personality traits because immediately I realized that I learned a lot from my mentor, but I wasn't my mentor. There was things that I did that made me design for my strengths because I cared for people. He faked like he cared for people. Do you think that anybody that sat down with Madoff and heard that he was doing this scam, what did they say in the whole entire documentary, Matt? I didn't know.
He was one of the
And then
nicest people
then
around.
people, then people
People,
get pissed off. I've never gotten nicer gifts from this guy. He always knew my birthday. He always knew my anniversary. He always sent flowers. Man, this is the nicest and giving person I know. And then people would look at him and go, yeah, because he was using your money.
he said, yeah, he sent you stuff with your money. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Oh my God, that hurts to say that.
Yeah. I mean, there's many people that
Yeah.
have fallen for that type of stuff. And it is difficult because I feel like what you're sharing, like a lot of people tend to judge themselves instead of, like you said, you just go, and then you move on. Like,
Right.
especially you taking that test and like figuring that out, because like, I feel like, and that's what you were saying almost at the beginning of this, it's like coming full circle, but that whole aspect of it's like the negatives aren't really negatives. Like they can be superpowers in a sense. They can be
Right.
things that you can utilize in yourself that other people don't have. You know what I mean?
Or at least
Like
know of yourself
yeah,
being
there's
able to,
negatives.
so that you can stop that.
Yeah.
Right, Craig. Yeah, there's
This-
negatives that I had in that list, like I said, that are really bad if you don't work on them and you use them against the people that you care about. But if they're there to support someone that you care about, pretty great to have some of those things.
What
Like
would be
I'd
the
definitely be
opposite?
stubborn when it comes to someone talking about my family. You know what I mean?
What
In
would,
comparison.
yeah.
So
Here's another one that I'll say is when Matt was really, really young, he looked at his traits as being a psychopath and a narcissist. I'm not saying that. He told me that.
probably many
Okay.
times.
So, did you see him bringing those thoughts into his head and learning himself? Why was he focused in on the negative parts of his personality trait?
It's so
So
funny because like when you think back to it too, it's like, and this is something that therapy helps you with, like, because it's all about perspective, right? So it's
totally,
like,
totally.
okay,
That was where I was going. Go
yeah,
ahead.
if I show up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm afraid I'm this type of person or whatever, and then you go to therapy and the therapist like, yeah, narcissists don't think about shit like that. You're like, oh, okay. Like, oh, the whole part where I'm beating myself up and worried that that's me, they don't have that part. They just are that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
And
like,
so when in a conversation that me and Matt had when he was really young, I told him, I said, you know, I hope and pray and I believe that you're such a wonderful individual that you're going to find somebody else that you're going to fall in love with. And then you and I have to have a whole total different conversation because you're not going to understand why your heart hurts when you're away from her. And I said, your logical mind is not going to be able to grab onto that. But a psychopath doesn't have that feeling. They're void of the feelings of what other people would feel.
Yeah, I think it's the
And
same as
so,
like when I saw ENTJ, it's similar to the story that I've seen with Steve Jobs, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
in so many ways you go, "Oh, I'll be stoic and be less emotional and therefore I can be more of a commander. I can make sure that things don't affect me or whatever." But the reality is that it does affect you, and the reality of that is that you're just piling it up in the closet till it
yeah,
eventually like overflows and comes out, right? So you have those situations. I just, in my life, especially being at that time, I was young enough, I guess, that it's crazy to think about, because
yeah,
somebody asked me this question the other day and I said, "Oh, yeah, I did that when I was 15 or something like that." And then I was thinking that that was 17 years ago. That's actually been longer away than the age that I was at the time, right? And that's a
yeah,
first for me, I think. In my life, I'm sure you guys
yeah,
can relate to
Well, man,
certain parts, but
that goes to, if you want to go back to where I was at the
mhm.
start, where we were talking about, okay, this was my personality type 6 years ago.
Right. Yeah,
And
dad, yours might be different, you know?
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
I'm
And
not
yet where
taking
I
it.
am
I'm
today
not
is
taking it.
there's differences. Yeah.
I was like, he
Of
likes
which,
his, so
okay, well then we'll keep it.
that's the
But
thing
I
is
mean,
like you could be worried. I could be keep getting ENTJ because I
Are
want it,
see,
right?
now
yeah.
everyone got to hear live on a podcast that we're human.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh, God forbid.
I didn't go to the positive side. I'm going like, "Oh my God, what if I take it and I change? Uh, what if change
Good.
is better?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
right away we're human beings, man. We got this one going. Oh my God, what if you took it and you become something different? Uh, I think we all want to be something different.
Yeah.
We all
Hopefully.
want to be gooder.
Don't we all? Yeah, I was just gonna say, don't we all want to get gooder and gooder every day?
And
And
if you really, the one objection that I've gotten for years is I'm not much of a people person.
Oh yeah.
Guess what my response is to that? Do you want to be a people person? Millions of people I've had interaction with over the years. Not one person went, I would like more friends. I would like more people that I could be connected to. I think that's part of a human being, isn't it?
Mhm.
So some of you are going to watch this podcast. And if I asked you, hey, tell me a little bit about your community, tell me about your parents, tell me about your siblings. What communities are you part of? Because if a people have lack of self image, self confidence, worthiness, feeling like they're enough, they're not connected, they're not loved. If you guys really truly want to know why we're pulling the unlimited community together the way it is, it's a bunch of people that are tired of being misfits and they just want to get better and gooder at having a conversations with people they give a shit about. The saddest thing that I always see is I go, "Hey, got any kids?" Yeah, they disown me. What? Yeah, my kids want nothing to do with me. Um, there was probably someone pushing their personality on somebody else's back then. Say you're going to do it my way or the highway. You won't disrespect me in my house. It's like, all right, I'm gone. it's like, it's like, and you're still doing the little connections that are happening and the little connections that they see you on social media just reminds them of the person that they were the last time you were with them. They're like, look at them on social media. They haven't changed a frickin' bit. So your social media would really have to be different. And I'll just say this just to really get in your head of why this is so important. You ready? all people want in the world is to be connected. And they're looking for people that are not know-it-alls, right fighters, people that are good listeners, because God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should be using that and that portion. So when people find people that give a shit, that are good listeners, that actually hear them and actually care about them, that's what people would want to be. And so when I talk to people that don't have good relationships, they don't understand why they're constantly interacting with people that don't like them. In my opinion, the universe is telling you this is a lesson you need to learn. You got to learn to really care about another human being. And so if you want connections with the people that you lost connections with, they'll watch it on your social media. The people that you're separated from, you spend all day, every day telling people, my kids are messed up. My ex is messed up. My spouse is messed up. They don't listen to me. They don't do what I want them to do. No, that's not the way they say it. They say, my spouse doesn't love and support me. They don't see it the way I see it. It's like, man, if I tried to push religion down Terry's throat, I would miss the biggest blessing that ever happened in my life. If I did the same with Matt and Kyle, I know the same thing would happen. I had to allow them to be them.
And look, I'm here.
And
It's a little further than just hanging out.
and encourage them, not be the constant reminder of how much and all the stuff that they messed up. If anyone knows me, Craig and Matt and all of you that watch this video that are part of the inner circle and the imaginators, I'm not the person that's going to say, Craig, listen, 9 times 9 is 81, you asshole. I'm too busy pointing out the other 9 that Craig got right. And when I do that, I love the way I feel when the person replies back to me because they know they were heard. That's what makes people cry. Is they feel connected, they feel unjudged, they feel cared for, they feel loved. And when they feel that, they go, this is weird. I'm not used to people hearing me, encouraging me, telling me that I'm okay for thinking the way I think. Who in the hell are these people? Yeah. That's what I want to teach you to do, is do that to other people. It's not being a life coach or knowing the answers or trying to teach everybody the same way its school system teaches them. We're not supposed to be in the box. We're supposed to be outside the box. And so, you know, my wife and I, we watch, I watch 60 Minutes all the time because sometimes it has some positive things. And they talked about this school in New Orleans, and it's a Christian school for girls, and they're all African American. 100% graduation, 100% scholarships. It's a standard. So when you go to that school, everywhere those girls go, they're being encouraged. They are told that they're the best of the best. So why did they get on 60 Minutes? Because 2 girls that are not mathematicians, their teacher gave them the Playground theory. These 2 girls looked at it and both not only solved it which is something that hasn't been solved for 2,000 years. But they now have figured out more than 10 different ways that you could figure out the same theory. Now that they both, everyone knows who they are, and they've gotten awards for all this, both of them went to different universities and didn't pick math. That's how those girls were encouraged in that world, that everything is possible and you don't need to be a mathematician to figure out something. So the people that were master mathematicians, there's a way that you figure out a problem, and they couldn't figure it out. These girls looked at it from a different perspective. Why did you figure it out? They asked him. The girl goes, there was a $500 to anybody that could figure it out. I wanted the $500. But you're not a mathematician. I wanted the $500. Holy cow. If I figure this out, you're going to give me $500. Game on. Well, now you're known as one of the brightest mathematicians on the planet. What are you going to do? Counseling. I'm going to get my master's in therapy and psychology. But you're the best mathematician. Yeah, that doesn't make me happy. Who was in these girls' heads from kindergarten to elementary to high school, all in one place? And guess what was the common theme of all the girls? They couldn't wait to go to school. They couldn't wait to get in that environment. Wow, what an incubator. So the people that you hang around does make a difference. And I'd like you to be a part of our community. So any last words, Matt and Craig?
No, I other than, hey, let's share the community with them,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. And they can join the community. Yeah.
Such an inspiring story too. Like I really am all for that's why I think a community of positive people are so great, because you'd have someone show up, and I was talking about perspective. You could have a person show up, and sometimes this is even like a young kid, and they'll say something to you that will completely shift your perspective.
Yes.
And that's why being surrounded by people that are supportive is so incredible, especially nowadays, where it's even more of an issue. Like there's more loneliness now than ever before on record. So because of that, I think it's even more important to be part of a community of people that can look at your problems from a different angle and go, oh, this could help. Or just in general, having a mentor that can sit down and go, here's the wisdom that I've learned. You don't have to, crawl through the mud to get to the same place that I did. So,
well, and that's why people always say, it's going to take me forever to learn this. The reason that you're saying that with your thinking instead of your heart is all we want to teach you to be is what you were created to be.
Yeah, the persuasion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Let us show you your strengths and how to make your strengths this much better than they are. That makes you above average than 95% of the people. That's how you get a following. This person's different. They seem confident. They seem like they know who they are. It's like, wow, look how transparent they are. Look how authentic they are. It's like, oh my God, I wish I could be like that. When we introduce you to you, you'll like you.
Well, that's perfect. Love and appreciate you, Dad. Thank you for that.
Love and appreciate you too. Craig, close us out, man.
All right. Love and appreciate you, Matt and Robert. Wow. If you'd like to join our exclusive communities, the Inner Circle and Imaginators, like Robert was sharing with us, go to roberthollis.com/join. to register. It's going to be a lot of great exclusive content, and you'll be able to participate in our special breakthrough sessions and special Zooms that are geared to help you go to the next level. Thursdays are Inner Circle at noon Pacific, or at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and Imaginators Sundays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's right there on the screen, as you can see. Become part of our community. Subscribe to our channels at roberthollis.com/YouTube. So many great things that we share with everybody on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly and yearly. Please join us and be part of our amazing, unlimited wisdom community. We want to be here for you. And also, you can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube and with others. It will help our community grow and reach those with ears to hear. Thank you. Shout out to our executive producer and visionary, Matt Hollis. And of course, our GPS to success, Robert Hollis. Bless you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. What a pleasure to join you on these podcasts and on everything that we do to help each and every one of you watching go to the next level. My name is Craig A. Jackman. Please be good to yourself, be cash, and until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you on the Inner
Thank you
Circle
very
tomorrow.
much. I love you, Craig. Love you, Matt.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
you.
you so
Matt.
much,
Love
Craig.
you,
Love and
Robert.
appreciate you.
And love you,